So, the on-air sign is on. That means Jessica will not be disturbing us, but it also means that we are a part of, we are now doing episode 1 of our show. Whoa. Digital After Effects. That was crazy. So what is,
Hold on. This is some fucking cutting edge shit, man.
Yeah?
Because, I mean, we're talking like 1963 technology.
Yeah. Being able to shake a picture like that. That's pretty amazing. I mean, whoa! We're on the set of the Enterprise.
You know how when you jilt in one particular direction, everybody falls in various directions.
Yeah, right. They're all just all over the place. Somebody did that on YouTube, but they took the actual picture and they righted it up, and it just looks so weird because everyone's just running every other direction.
Yeah, they just did some stabilization.
Yeah. But this is GISZH. I'm Trevor. That's Shawn.
I'm Shawn.
And what are we going to talk about on this episode of GISZH?
I don't know. That's up to you.
Yeah, well, it's not up to me. It is up to random chance, my friend. This is the GISZH box, and it's a randomizer. And since this lettering may look familiar to some of you, if not, you'll certainly recognize it in the intro. But we are huge fans of Calvin and Hobbes, and so in here are all the subjects that we will ever cover in this first season of GISZH, and we will take turns episode and pulling out what is essentially random, the essence of random in Calvin and Hobbes.
Now hold on. Before you pull that out.
I can't. I want to say a Calvin ball.
Hold on. I want to just say the name of our show. A lot of people may wonder what this random assortment of letters stands for, and the acronym is non-existent.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's not an acronym. It's an automatopoeia.
I mean, we could make an acronym out of it, like
GI Shore.
Genius Insights. Some zeros had.
That is about fair. That is actually accurate, but yeah, it's from a Calvin and Hobbes. The paint's already coming off. It's from a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon, and it's gonna be our intro as well.
It's the sound of a T-Rex foot hitting the ground.
Yeah. So with that in mind, let's. I'm gonna let you be the first.
I get to pull out a Calvin ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it should be noted that I don't know even what these topics are. Trevor has come up with all the subjects.
Right.
And I'm just completely in the dark here. Mm-hmm. For our audio-only listeners listening on the Fandom Limb podcast network.
Or your ASMR crowd.
That's me rattling the... Okay. So I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Trevor has an idea of what we could talk about, but doesn't know what the subject will be.
I should tell you, the list of subjects for this whole year's worth of shows, I made it a while ago, and I made these very quickly, so it didn't register. I only remember a few of them.
Okay.
So what is today's episode of GISZH about, Shawn?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yay!
Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-dum.
All right, intro. All right. You're supposed to throw it at the fucking camera. I hit it! 10 points. I win Calvin ball. So, Shawn, this episode of GISZH is all about Hitchhiker's Guide, and I honestly don't recall which of the two of us, which is unusual. People will find watching this show. Normally, the two of us can ascertain which of the two of us is responsible for the group, the duo love of something. I legitimately don't know if it was you or me that first got into Hitchhikers.
I do. It was me.
It was you.
There was some girl I ate lunch with in high school who just wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. always going on about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This was when we had different lunch periods, and I would...
Sophomore year, I think.
No, it was junior year, because it was the year that, like sophomore year, we had lunch together. Junior year, I had the first lunch period, you had the second lunch period, and I would just skip history class literally every day all year long.
That's right.
And in the 20 minutes between lunch periods, I had to, like, hide.
Yeah.
But for the first lunch period that I did not have with you, there was this girl, I don't remember her name, but she was always talking about how great Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was. And I recall finding the first book at some used bookstore downtown at some point. And I read
Main
it.
Street Books, probably?
Yes, it was. It was the third floor of the Main Street bookstore, which no longer exists.
Sadly.
But, yeah, found it up there. Read that book and was like, oh shit, this is good. Like a sentence in.
Yeah. So then no doubt you came to me and said, oh, Trevor. No, you probably came up to me and were like, because the thing is you took great pride whenever you were able to show me something British that I had never heard of. And for the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is not just the fact that my father and family are British, but also, which we'll, spoilers, talk about in another episode, we love Python, and I brought it to your attention. So
yes,
along with a number of other things like Black Books, you brought to my attention.
Black Book's greatest sitcom of all time.
Very underrated. Very, very underrated show.
Oh, actually, the shirt I'm wearing right now is from Black Books.
Show that to the... Be the king of your own calm kingdom. And he's reading from the little book of calm. Yes,
which I have in the other room. It's it's a real book.
Oh, it is?
It is. we
wait. Does that mean that there is a possible copy of the complete history of Screaming?
One hopes. My wife and I saw the little book of calm at someone's yard sale, and I was like, "Oh my god, the little book of calm!" And then I looked it up. It is the same cover on the episode of Black Books, and I looked it up, and the book does predate Black Books.
Huh.
I cannot find any of the passages that are in the episode in the book.
Right.
So I'm sure they made those up. But Little Book of Calm, real book.
Interesting.
And I have it.
So yeah, so we have great love for all things British comedy. And Hitchhikers was one of those things, one of those comedy, like, I don't want to say fandoms, but comedy properties, IPs, I guess, where it has its own language, like Python or Mystery Science Theater. When you meet somebody and like, this is what's happening with me and like, when you find out, oh, you like Hitchhiker's Guide, immediately there's a whole world of references and words.
You always find these things out because someone makes some reference to that thing with no regard for whether the person they're speaking to is going to understand.
Right.
Like, oh, you really know where your towel is, don't you?
Exactly. There's a fruit who knows where his towel is.
A hoopy fruit.
A hoopy fruit, excuse me.
Or like, oh yeah, my friend Shawn, he's just this guy,
yeah. I remember this kid named Nick in my radio and TV class, and he was so excited. Nick Fox, the great Nick Fox, yes. He was so excited when he saw that I had a copy of Hitchhikers on me, and it was one of those, because he was an upperclassman. I was, younger at the time, so he. When an older kid, way to be subtle. Hold it up. It's too bad it doesn't say "Don't Panic" on the cover.
Yeah. For those of you listening to the audio version of this podcast, I just realized that I had the hardcover edition of
right here,
the increasingly inaccurately named Hitchhiker's Trilogy next to me. Leather bound.
But yeah. Nick was very, very impressed, and I remember we picked it up, and then he immediately started reading the chapter out loud to me as if I wasn't already familiar. He started reading the chapter about Vogue on poetry, and it was so great because I have like actual pictures in my head, memories of him desperately trying to get through it. Just crying, laughing. And he's just like, oh, to a small lump of green putty I found in my heart when it's summer morning. Like, he was so in love with it. And I was like, and it made me feel like this is like what older people appreciate. This is smarter comedy. And it's so silly.
Yeah.
You know, that's I think the one through line with what we like about British comedy is that it's smart, silly. You know, it's
smart
they're silly
absurdity.
They're silly about smart stuff. Like, you know, like you don't have to know who Reginald Maudling is to get the Python jokes, but it helps. It does make it a little bit funnier, but it's still silly, very, very silly. Kind of the Simpsons humor.
And the thing that Douglas Adams really does that I have always very much admired about him is the way he turns similes on their heads.
Okay.
Like the huge yellow slab-like somethings hung in the air, much in the way that bricks don't.
Yeah. The Vogan ships, the Vogan yellow ships.
Yeah. Or one of my other favorites was from the second Dark Gently book, Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. They're describing orderlies rolling an old man out of his bed so they can change the linens. And I believe the description was they rolled him out of the bed like dumping a dead crow from a shoebox.
Oh my God.
As if
I don't remember that one. Yeah.
As if that's, you know, an experience common to all readers that they can definitely cotton on to. And though it's not.
That's what's brilliant about it. The second you said it, it was in my head. I saw it.
Right.
You immediately see it. You immediately can think. And even if you're not thinking an actual crow, you've had as a kid the experience of, like, you know, trying to nurse something that's dead and it's not, and you have it in the shoebox and there's, you know,
It's dead before you found it.
Yeah. Or it was
pouring milk down its cold gullet.
Yeah. It's just fucking drooling, bubbling milk over, but
It's just half a cat you found on the road.
Cats like milk. But so now we thought incorrectly for the longest time that it started as a book.
Correct.
But no,
We were incorrect.
we were incorrect. It was a radio series, and I'm surprised by how much, when I did actually hear the radio series, I was surprised by how much is in the book, like verbatim, which there's a very strange kind of narrative style to the book, but it completely lends itself to both formats very well.
That's my favorite thing about Hitchhikers is it is the single property of all properties that has really done well across multiple mediums.
Right.
Like all the mediums, basically. And it's the same story being told. It's not like Star Wars, which is in all the mediums, but telling different stories in those mediums. The same story across radio dramas, novels, TV series, movies, video games, comic books. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And rather than just adapting the same story, every incarnation alters itself to suit the media that it's being told in.
Yeah, that's true. And it does alter other things too. Like he was very good, Douglas was, about changing jokes that people knew just to suit the times, but while still making the actual joke. I do know one, though, that he never changed that I always thought he should have changed, was something about how people on Earth still think there are some people.
Digital watches are a pretty neat idea.
Pretty neat idea. And I remember thinking one day digital watches are going to go away. And they did, and then they came back as those things. So I guess.
Smartwatch. I'm wearing an Apple Watch for.
But it would be it would have been like a good change. But he did do that with speaking of modern iterations, we can talk about this for a little while. Just let you have some time. What were your thoughts on the movie?
I loved the movie.
You and I are in the minority there, my friend. A lot of Hitchhikers fans don't like the movie.
You know why?
And
it goes back to
I think I know where you're going with this.
It goes back to the media changes. Mm-hmm. Nerds,
Yep.
of which I sadly identify,
Yep.
are so beholden.
That's the only way you can identify, sadly.
Yes. Are